Welcome to Dirt Bike Beginners, video number 2. Trying to make the most of the sun today in England, trying to get that vitamin D up. But the first question I had when I embarked on this challenge was obviously, what dirt bike do you buy? What dirt bike do you buy? There are so many different variants of dirt bike upon all the research that I've done. Personally, growing up in South Africa, my best friend, he had a KTM 250. That's as much as I knew about the bike. I didn't really know the differences between 2-stroke and 4-stroke. To be honest with you, I still don't really even know the differences between the two. But I did loads of research, and my dream was to try and get a KTM. I've always dreamed about riding a KTM around. The next big question came around the engine size. Do you go for the bigger engines or do you go for the smaller engines? A lot of my friends kind of said the 250 is really good, big beginner bike, not too much power. They've said it gives plenty of power for someone who's going to be a beginner on little byways or trail roads and things like that. So I kind of set my sights on a KTM. Initially I started looking at a 450 maybe, because my thinking there was maybe something a bit bigger. I'm a fairly big guy, weigh about 100 kilograms or so. So I wasn't sure whether the 250 might be too small. And this is when I started getting really confused in the KTM models. You have things like, the KTM SX, the KTM XC, EXC, WF, all of these kind of different, names and letters, and I was getting so confused. So what I did is I also just trailed. I just went through Auto Trader. I went through different types of websites. Lots of people that I spoke to said, Auto Trader is probably the best place to buy them. I looked at different dealerships. I looked at, I did a bit of research on what goes wrong in these bikes, and a lot of people said don't buy them privately. So I opted for, a dealership, looked at the different warranties the dealerships gave me. And I zoned in. I was about to press go on a KTM 450. I think it was an SX. But then what I found was the SX model. So the models are, the SX stands for Supercross or Motocross. Basically, with those models bikes, they are not road legal. So you can only take them to a racing track and race around the track. You can't ride on the roads with them. Now that's a big problem if you're doing little by lanes and things like that, because if you're doing byways on those green laning and trail riding, a lot of the times going from one trail to another trail, you need to go onto the main road, so therefore you need a road legal bike. So then I was like, oh man, I got to start all the research again. So you've also got the XC, which is cross country, close course off-road racing, so that's another one. You have the EXC, which is enduro or cross country. The W means for wide range on models available with both the EXC something, don't know if that makes sense. And then you have the F, and the F is put at the end of those things if it's a 4-stroke. If it's a 2-stroke, it doesn't have that. So for example, the EXC-F will be an EXC 4-stroke, whereas if you just buy the EXC, it'll just be a 2-stroke. So anyway, with all of that, I started honing in my research again. I spoke to loads of people. A helpful link was actually the Mike Extins or Extins. I'll put a link somewhere, but they do like off-road rail riding for beginners and all of this kind of trail riding for beginners, and they all use 250s. My friend did that thing and he told me the 250 is perfect. So I then thought, okay, I've made my mind up. I'm gonna go for a 250. I'm gonna go for a KTM because I love that, and then I have to go for a road legal one. So after all that research, I honed in kind of my research, and I found a KTM 250 EXC. Sorry, I'm dyslexic, so I'm bad with letters and stuff. So EXCF. So I found that at a really good company called Right Bike, and I'll post a little video of the bike as well, but I've bought the bike. So after all the research, after loads of different stuff, a couple of YouTube videos, I've gone for the KTM 250cc EXCF, and that's been ordered. So now it's just the waiting game. One has to wait for the bike now that it's been ordered. With COVID and all that, I can't go to the showrooms and pick it up, so they've had to come deliver it at my house. So stay tuned for that video when they do the delivery of the bike. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Yeah, hopefully it was helpful. There we go.